know, you're gonna have to ask Aliyah that question. I honestly, you just do your work. You gotta do your work early, and make it different. But Aliyah did say I have a special whistle. And she shot 13 today. Yeah. Yeah, she said the last game I had a special whistle, which is cool.
Oh boy, the excuses came flying faster than a missed free throw after A'ja Wilson and Becky Hammon couldn't handle a loss to the Indiana Fever. Immediately, they had a scapegoat ready, the referees. According to them, every whistle was rigged, every call a conspiracy against the Aces. Forget Aliyah Boston bulldozing the paint. Forget Kelsey Mitchell hitting clutch shots. None of that mattered in their story. Apparently, the refs were the real MVPs. But let's be real here. Do you honestly believe the officials cost Vegas the game? Or did Indiana simply outwork, outsmart, and outplay them? Anyone who watched the game with open eyes saw it clearly. The Fever didn't stumble into a lucky win, they dominated the defending champs. They controlled the boards, attacked with unrelenting intensity, hustled on every possession, and played with pure heart. Yet if you listen to Wilson and Hammond, none of that counts. The narrative they're pushing, the Aces only lost because the referees were somehow in Indiana's pocket. Can you believe that?
The look on your face while you're looking at that box score, I'm wondering what's really standing out to you there.
I was just looking at the fouls. Like, Bliss had 5, Jackie had 5, Chelsea had 5. And that's very interesting to me because I'm not saying we don't foul. Yeah, we foul here and there, but that's very interesting.
And this is where the irony hits hard, because it's downright hilarious coming from A'ja Wilson herself, a player who practically lives at the free throw line. Seriously, A'ja has been handed some of the most generous whistles all season. She even glances at the paint and boom, free throws. But now, when the calls don't go her way, suddenly, she's up in arms, crying foul. You honestly couldn't script this. Let me break it down. The Fever attempted 34 free throws, while the Aces managed just 11. That's the stat Becky Hammon waved around like it was proof of a conspiracy. See, we didn't really lose, the refs stole it. Here's the reality check. Indiana earned every single one of those trips. Aliyah Boston bulldozed her way to the rim possession after possession. She went straight into A'ja, absorbed the contact, and drew the whistle. That's not luck. That's aggressive, relentless basketball. That's earning your calls. And here's the simple truth. If you don't want fouls called on you, maybe don't reach, swipe, and hack someone in the post. It's really that basic.
A'ja, it looked like they really were intentional about going to Aliyah in the second half. What was, I guess, difficult about containing her? I know you guys kind of touched on a few things, maybe with the foul calls, that what made it successful for them to keep going to her tonight?
I don't know, you might have to Aliyah that question. Honestly, you do your work. You gotta do your work early, and make it different. But Aliyah did say I had a special whistle. She shot 13 today.
She said that to you.
Yeah. Yeah, she said the last game I had a special whistle, which is cool. So we just gotta play their better defense, make her look a little difficult. And
But according to A'ja Wilson, Aliyah Boston wasn't just playing hard or aggressively. Oh no, she apparently had some kind of magic whistle following her around. The craziest part? A'ja actually claimed after the game that Boston admitted to having one. Let's stop right there. That's not real. There's no secret whistle that hands you freebies across the league. Boston got calls because she attacked the basket. Simple as that. Meanwhile, A'ja spent a good portion of her possessions launching fadeaways and mid-range jumpers. Here's a newsflash, refs don't hand out free throws for jump shots. That's not how basketball works. And let's remember, this is the same A'ja Wilson who has spent years racking up more free throws than half the league combined. The same A'ja that Fever fans constantly complain about because she seems to get bailed out anytime someone even brushes her jersey. But now, suddenly, she's playing the victim? Come on, it's like the teacher's pet who's been snacking on candy all semester, suddenly crying because the teacher forgot to bring Skittles one day. Seriously, cry me a river.
What? Oh my God, that's interesting. That's what I was looking for. We'll do better. We gotta play better defense.
I'm interested. You mean that shit?
Yeah, I can't say that because I got a brain. But
Say it, I have no brain.
yeah, it's interesting. But we'll be better.
And Becky Hammon, honestly, she wasn't any better. She strutted into that press conference with her smugness dialed all the way up, ready for her big mic drop moment. They shot 34. We shot 11. Next question. That was it. Her entire game breakdown boiled down to one stat. Strategy, adjustments, how Aliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell completely outplayed her key players. Forget it. According to Hammond, it was all the refs' fault. If that's the Aces coaching philosophy, maybe it's time to rethink the game plan, because last I checked, pointing fingers at officials doesn't win championships.
Coach, how much Liz foul trouble impacted you on the rotation and her impact on the defensive end?
Yeah, I mean, it hurts us. We need to be able to play Liz heavy minutes. She's been an impactful player in this series. I gotta go back and look at the tape, but it seemed like there was a lot of grabbing and holding down there. That got called one way.
Anything else?
I did appreciate it was a little tighter called, but tighter on both ends would have been nice.
Alright, now it gets truly ridiculous. Becky Hammon actually tried to frame the game like it was somehow called differently than the rest of the series. Really? Maybe, just maybe, it's because Indiana finally started pounding the paint instead of settling for mid-range jumpers. Or perhaps, just a thought, Aliyah Boston finally looked every bit like the #1 pick she was always meant to be. And let's not pretend Las Vegas was playing a clean game. Jackie Young had 5 fouls, Chelsea Gray had 5 fouls, Liz Kimbage, well, she's not even in the league anymore. But you get the point. Vegas was hacking left and right. And guess what? The refs called it. They didn't swallow the whistle. They didn't rig anything. They just did their jobs. Meanwhile, Fever fans are laughing because for months they've endured this absurd narrative that Caitlin Clark is the only reason Indiana wins. Well, Caitlin's out and Aliyah Boston stepped into the spotlight, head to head with Aja Wilson, and absolutely outplayed her. That's not refs. That's reality. Boston bullied her way to 24 points and 14 rebounds. Dominance, not favoritism. Kelsey Mitchell, she dropped 25 points, nailed clutch shots, and completely outshined Jackie Young. Still not the refs, just straight up basketball. Odyssey Sims came off the bench, torched defenders, made plays. Again, not the refs, just execution. The Fever had the better plan, executed it flawlessly, and plain and simple, they wanted it more. But no, according to A'ja Wilson and Hammond, the entire game script was written by corrupt officials. It's almost comical. The Aces lose, and suddenly the refs are villains. Yet when Vegas benefits from questionable calls in other games, crickets, pure hypocrisy. Vegas has been enjoying whistle help for years. Becky Hammon herself has praised calls when they went her way, but the second the scales tip toward Indiana, it's a conspiracy. Let's call it what it is. Deflection. The Aces don't want to admit they got outworked. They don't want to admit Boston dominated their front court. They don't want to admit Mitchell cooked their guards. And they absolutely don't want to admit their bench contributed almost nothing. So instead of accountability, they blame the referees. Lazy, weak, embarrassing for a franchise that loves to call itself the standard. But hey, this is nothing new. Coaches pointing fingers at refs is older than basketball itself. It's the easiest escape hatch. Lost because they played better. That means change. Lost because the refs were crooked? No adjustments needed. Just hope the whistle flips next game. Here's the kicker. Some of AC's fans are actually buying this. Twitter is full of posts whining that the league is rigging games to get Caitlin Clark to the finals, as if Adam Silver secretly has refs on payroll, orchestrating wins for Indiana. Give me a break. If the WNBA were rigging games, don't you think they'd want Vegas, the two-time champs with Aja Wilson, Chelsea Gray, and Jackie Young back in the finals? Honestly, that's a much safer pick for ratings than Indiana, a team that just crawled out of the basement last season. The whole conspiracy theory? Pure nonsense. And let's remember, this is Caitlin Clark's second year. She's no rookie. The idea that the league is pushing her success is exhausted. She's earned it. The Fever have earned it. And Aliyah Boston, she just proved she's every bit the star Indiana drafted her to be. If the Aces can't accept that, that's their problem. Let's look at that free throw stat again, because this is the hill Becky Hammon and A'ja Wilson are choosing to die on. Indiana 34, Vegas 11. On paper, sure. It looks bad, but look closer. Indiana attacked the rim non-stop. Vegas settled for jumpers. That's the difference. That's not corruption. That's basketball 101. Aggression gets rewarded. Passive play doesn't. Simple as that. And the funniest part? Vegas still had chances to win. Even with the free throw gap, they were close late in the game. But they missed shots, turned the ball over, and folded in crunch time. That's on them. Not the refs. Not the league. Them. So yeah, Wilson and Hammond tore into the officials after the game, but the only people they really exposed were themselves. They revealed their own insecurities, their lack of accountability, and how intimidated they are by the new and improved Fever, because deep down they know this isn't the same old team. This Indiana squad doesn't back down. Here's where it gets even more absurd. Vegas's meltdown wasn't just a few salty quotes. It was an attempt to rewrite what everyone actually saw. The box score doesn't lie. Boston dominated the paint, Mitchell controlled the perimeter, Odyssey Sims shredded the bench, and the Fever, a team everyone assumed was rebuilding, suddenly looks one win away from the finals. Yet Vegas wants you to believe the refs are crooked. And let's not forget A.A. Wilson's post-game gem. She said something like, "We foul sometimes." Interesting choice of words. Translate, we committed a ton of fouls, but we don't like how obvious the refs made it look. Imagine being a superstar, getting bailed out by the refs year after year, and acting shocked when the whistle doesn't come gift wrapped. It's like a celebrity whining because their VIP pass didn't work at the club one night. Sorry, AA. But sometimes the regular rules still apply. Let's really break down the defensive side of things. Wilson had absolutely no answer for Aliyah Boston. None. Boston went right at her, threw her over her, relentless. That's why the fouls piled up. Not favoritism, not rigged whistles, because AA couldn't stay in front without grabbing, slapping, or hacking her in the lane. That's basketball. That's called getting dominated. Then there's Becky Hammond's masterclass in deflection. She walks into the press conference and drops, "They shot 34 free throws, we shot 11. Next question. No mention of defensive rotations, no nod to Boston's flawless footwork, no recognition of Kelsey Mitchell hitting big shots, just the refs. Blaming the officials is the easiest excuse in sports when you lose. Here's the reality. Everyone saw Vegas hacking like they were chopping firewood. Reaching, grabbing, swiping. Of course the whistle blew. That's how the game works. And Hammond pretending otherwise doesn't make her a Hall of Fame coach. It makes her look like the PR manager for the Las Vegas excuse factory. Let's not forget, Vegas hasn't always been the victim. Fever fans remember Game 3 when Caitlin Clark got hacked on every drive, went 1 for 1 at the line, and didn't get a single call. That game should have gone Indiana's way, but the refs swallowed their whistles and Vegas stole it. Funny how Becky and Aja had nothing to say then. Only when the roles reverse do they suddenly find their voices. This is why the "they cheated" narrative is so laughable. If the league were rigging games, why would they pick Indiana? They'd stick with the proven ratings machine. Aja Wilson is a 2-time MVP. Becky Hammond is a marquee coaching name. Vegas is the WNBA's glamour franchise. If you were fixing a game for ratings, wouldn't you make sure AA and crew advanced? The logic collapses completely. Meanwhile, Indiana doesn't care about the whining. They're too busy celebrating. Boston's 24 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals, not a gift from the refs. That was pure effort. Mitchell's 25 points, not a whistle. Raw skill. Odyssey Sims torching defenders off the bench. Still just basketball. The truth is simple. Vegas doesn't want to admit they got outworked. The Fever were tougher, smarter, and more aggressive. And that's why they walked away with the win. The Fever were hungrier. They played like a team that wanted the finals more than anyone else. And instead of tipping their caps, Vegas chose to cry foul, literally. But let's step back and look at the bigger picture. This isn't just about one game. It's a major power shift. For years, the WNBA spotlight belonged to the Aces, the Liberty, the Mercury, the usual heavyweights. Indiana, they were supposed to be rebuilding, a young team with promise, but no real shot at taking down the league giants. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and paired with Aliyah Boston's explosive growth, everything changed. Now, in Clark's second season, Indiana is on the verge of the finals. That's what's really rattling Vegas. This isn't about refs, it's about ego. The Aces are used to being the bullies, owning every gym and stealing every headline. Now, they're watching the Fever grab the spotlight. Even sidelined, Clark is the league's biggest name. Boston is outshining Asia Wilson. Kelsey Mitchell is out-dueling Jackie Young. The Fever are flipping the script and the Aces hate it. And what happens when big egos get bruised? Excuses, whining, conspiracy theories about corrupt officials. It's always easier than admitting you were outplayed. But the fans aren't buying it. Social media exploded after the game. Fever fans clowned Asia for complaining about free throws, despite being the league's most gifted whistle magnet. Neutral fans pointed out Boston earned her calls with aggressive play, while Asia settled for jumpers. numbers. Even some Vegas fans admitted their team looked flat and deserved to lose. Excuses might sound good in the locker room, but under the bright lights, they fall apart. Now, let's be clear. The WNBA's officiating has been inconsistent all season. Missed calls, random technicals, sloppy whistles, you name it. But in this game, the refs were not the reason Vegas lost. They were imperfect, yes, but Indiana adapted, stayed aggressive, and forced the issue. Vegas, they folded and then cried foul. Here's the hard truth no one in Vegas wants to admit. Becky Hammon got out-coached. Stephanie White finally let Boston dominate the post, instructed her to stop floating on the perimeter, and the result was devastating for the Aces. Vegas had no answer. Becky Hammon didn't make the right adjustments. She didn't double Boston effectively, didn't rotate quickly, and let her dominate one-on-one. That's not on the refs, that's coaching. But do we hear Becky admit she got out-coached? Of course not, just excuses. So let's recap. A'ja Wilson blames a special whistle. Becky Hammon waves free throw numbers like they're evidence of a conspiracy. Aces fans cry corruption. Meanwhile, the scoreboard couldn't be clearer. Indiana Fever 1, Las Vegas Aces 0. In the battle of excuses, the Fever earned their win. Vegas lost because they got outplayed. Plain and simple. Here's the kicker. All this whining actually sets up Game 5 perfectly. Now the pressure is squarely on Vegas. If they lose again, it won't just be the refs cheated us. The story becomes undeniable. Wilson and Hammon got outplayed and outcoached by a young, hungry Indiana team. That's the legacy risk, and deep down, they know it. That's why the excuses keep flowing like water. At the end of the day, fans don't care about referee conspiracies. They care about results, and the result is crystal clear. The Fever are one win away from the finals, while the Aces are busy pointing fingers. So here's the scene. Vegas crying about refs, Indiana celebrating, and the WNBA caught in the middle. The Fever didn't need magic whistles. They needed Boston, Mitchell, and Sims, and they delivered. If the Aces want to survive, it's time to stop blaming officials and start playing basketball.